Parents forced me to rent their condo, then kicked me out for my sister and fiancé. Months later. Hey, ever feel like your family's living in a different reality? I'm Sarah, and I thought I knew my family. I was so wrong. I was 23, fresh out of college with my shiny new psychology degree, when my world flipped. See, after my grandpa Joe died a few years back, I got to live in his old condo. My dad, who inherited it, let me stay there rent-free while I was in school. I just covered the Wi-Fi and electricity, easy, right? I worked shifts at the Cozy Corner, this little bookstore/cafe, to make ends meet. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. The graduation dinner at my parents' place should have been perfect. My mom, bless her heart, always goes all out with the cooking. My younger sister, Chloe, who was 19, kept teasing me about how I wouldn't be around to proofread her essays anymore. Aunt Carol and Uncle Dave, my cousins, Liam and Olivia, were there too. Everyone was super proud, talking about their own college memories. But then, after the relatives left, the bomb dropped. Mom cleared her throat, that nervous habit she has, and my stomach instantly knotted. I knew that sound. Sarah, honey, she started, all formal, now that you've graduated, we need to talk about the condo. My coffee cup clinked against the saucer, way too loud in the sudden silence. What about it? I asked, trying to sound casual. Well, if you want to keep living there, you'll need to start paying rent, Dad said, suddenly fascinated by his empty plate. Cold water. Straight to the face. On my graduation day. Chloe, of course, pretended to be glued to her phone, but I saw her watching. I see, I managed, my voice shaky. Mom explained the terms, a family discount, but still. A lot. I did the mental math. The Cozy Corner wasn't going to cut it. I needed a full-time job, ASAP. I understand, I said, because what else could I say? They were kind of right. I wasn't a student anymore. But the timing. It felt like a slap in the face. That night, lying in my condo, I started job hunting. The bookstore couldn't give me full-time hours. I needed something real. I scrolled through listings, trying to ignore the hurt bubbling up. The next year was a whirlwind. Work, rent, adulting. I got a job at a small publishing house, Reader's Realm, as an editorial assistant. Not exactly my dream, but the pay was decent. I could cover the rent my parents were charging, plus utilities, with a little left over. Every month, I transferred the money, sometimes a bit extra for utilities, even though Mom never asked. I wanted to prove I could handle it. Maybe I was still trying to. I don't know. Earn their approval? Chloe would drop by sometimes, usually when she needed help with her college applications or wanted to borrow my clothes. She was starting community college, and I could see her changing. More distant. Her visits felt transactional. Like she was there for what she could get, homework help, fashion advice, a shoulder to cry on about her boyfriend drama. Chloe had always been the baby, the one who got her way. Mom and Dad doted on her. They'd never made her get a part-time job. They'd never pushed her to be independent. She started dating this guy, Mark, around then. He was a year older, working at the mall's tech store. First time she brought him over, I wasn't impressed. He seemed entitled. Like he expected everyone to cater to him. Then came the phone call. Sarah, come over right away, Mom said, her voice tight. It's important. I assumed it was about Chloe's college stuff. She'd been accepted to a few places, and I figured they wanted my advice. Maybe they needed help with financial aid or something. Chloe's grades were okay, not amazing like mine, but good enough. I was so wrong. I got to their house, and the vibe was off. Mom and Dad were stiff on the couch, Chloe on the armchair, looking smug. That's the only word. Sit down, Sarah, Dad said, his voice gravelly. He looked old. Tired. I perched on the ottoman, heart pounding. This wasn't about college. Chloe's pregnant, Mom blurted out. Stunned silence. My 19-year-old sister. Pregnant. By her mall employee boyfriend. I saw Mom's hands twisting, a nervous tic she's had forever. There's something else, Mom said, straightening up. Chloe and Mark will need a place to live. They'll be moving into the condo. The room spun. Excuse me? You'll need to move out, Mom stated, like she was reading the weather report. Chloe and Mark need somewhere to start their family. It's perfect. The condo's furnished, good neighborhood, close to Mark's parents. I looked at Chloe. She was examining her nails, a smug little smirk on her face. She didn't even look sorry about kicking her own sister out. And she was wearing my sweater, the one she'd borrowed last month. I'll need time to find a place, I managed, my head reeling. Apartment hunting and working full-time? My stomach churned. A week should be enough, Mom said. Then, like an afterthought, oh, and Sarah, you'll still need to keep paying the rent. I actually laughed. A harsh, ugly sound. I thought it was a joke. But their faces. Dead serious. You can't be serious. Your sister and Mark are young, Mom said, patiently, like I was 5. They don't have jobs. And with the baby. She gestured at Chloe's still flat stomach. Let me get this straight, I interrupted, my voice rising. You want me to move out and keep paying rent for a place I won't be living in? For them? They need our help, Sarah, Dad said, sternly. It's your responsibility as the older sister. Family helps family. My responsibility? I stood up, shaking. If they're mature enough to have a baby, they're mature enough to get jobs. Have either of them even looked for full-time work? How can you be so selfish? Chloe suddenly wailed, tears welling up. The same tears I'd seen a million times, when she wanted a new phone, when she couldn't go to a party. I'm going to be a mother. Don't you care about your niece or nephew? You're being very ungrateful, Mom said, coldly. After everything we've done for you. Ungrateful? I exploded. I've been paying rent. I've been working since college. And now you want me to support 2 perfectly capable adults who got themselves into this mess? I'm not paying a cent for them. If you want to enable this, fine. But count me out. I walked out, their shouts of ungrateful and selfish echoing behind me. The door slammed shut, the end of something. I didn't wait a week. That night, I started packing. Tears streaming down my face, I sorted through 4 years of memories. Luckily, I had some savings. All those extra hours were finally paying off. I found a tiny studio apartment across town and signed the lease the next day. It wasn't as nice, tiny kitchen, old bathroom, longer commute, but it was mine. I packed meticulously, making lists. The furniture my parents had provided, the old couch, Grandpa Joe's dining table, the bookshelf Dad built, stayed. But the books, the clothes, the kitchen stuff I'd bought? All went into boxes labeled Sarah. My coffee maker, a splurge after my first bonus, my laptop, bought with bookstore tips, my bed, purchased piece by piece, all the things I'd earned. It took 2 days to move everything. My boss was understanding when I asked for a personal day. I didn't give the full story. When I was done, I drove past my parents' house and slipped the condo key under the door. No note. What was there to say? A week later, my phone blew up. Mom, furious. What have you done to the condo? She shrieked. It's empty. Everything that was there when I moved in is still there, I replied, calmly. I only took my things. Things I bought with my money. Maybe Chloe and Mark can try doing the same. The string of curse words that followed. I'd never heard my mother talk like that. I hung up. That night, in my tiny apartment, I cried. For the family I thought I had. For the sister who'd become a stranger. For the parents who'd chosen to enable her. But mostly, for myself. For the naive girl who thought hard work and doing the right thing would be enough. Life changes fast. 1 year, I was the good daughter. The next, I was the family outcast. I threw myself into work. My boss, Susan, noticed. She gave me more responsibility. A major client needed someone to handle a social media crisis at 3 a.m. I volunteered. Someone to come in on weekends for a big pitch? Me. Work became my refuge. Effort actually meant something there. Soon, I was leading my own projects. The promotion came with a raise. Enough to start looking for a better apartment. My tiny studio didn't feel so cramped anymore, but I started dreaming bigger. I opened a savings account, for a down payment on my own place. No more renting. Through friends and social media, I heard snippets. Chloe had a baby girl, my niece, though I'd never met her. Lots of pictures online. Tiny face, blue blanket, first smiles. Chloe and Mark, still just engaged, playing house in my old condo, my parents footing the bills. Then, an email. From Chloe. My heart skipped a beat. Hey sis, it read, like the past year never happened. Like she hadn't helped kick me out. Hope you're doing well. Heard you got a promotion, congrats. Would love for you to come visit and meet your niece. She's such an angel, and I know you'll love her. Plus, I heard you're doing really well financially now. I should have known. There was always a catch with Chloe. The next email arrived before I could even process the first. A list. A wish list of baby items that made my credit card cry. Designer clothes, a stroller that cost more than my laptop, toys that probably cost more than Mark made in a month. I stared at the screen. Was this a joke? After everything? After a year of silence? This was how she reached out? Not with an apology, not with anything, but with a shopping list. Are you working yet? I wrote back, ignoring the list. Her response, oh, Mom and Dad are taking care of everything. They pay all the bills and give us spending money. Mark and I don't need to work right now. We're focusing on being parents. It's such an important job, you know? Then, the kicker, actually, we're thinking of having more kids soon. Mom and Dad are such suckers, I mean, they're so supportive. They'll have to keep helping us if we have more babies. And we want a big wedding, too. Nothing cheap. Those old fools will pay for everything. I read that email 3 times. Each time, I felt sicker. My little sister had turned into this. Someone who called our parents old fools while happily taking their money. Someone who planned to have more kids just to keep the gravy train running. I didn't reply. What could I say? Congrats on being a manipulative mooch? I closed my laptop, trying to forget it. But the words. Those old fools will pay for everything. Fate, though. A few months later, my phone rang. Mom's number. I almost didn't answer. But I did. Sarah, she said, her voice different. Tired. Defeated. We need to talk. Can you come over? Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was hope. I drove to their house. The familiar streets felt strange. They looked older. Dad's hair was grayer, Mom's face had new lines. Dark circles under their eyes. They sat on the couch, but their posture defeated. We've been taking extra shifts, Dad said, his voice rough. Working overtime. To help your sister and Mark. I waited. We know you're doing well at your job, Mom continued, and my heart sank. This wasn't an apology. This was another demand. We think it's time you help support your sister, too. I laughed. A real laugh, this time. Pure disbelief. You want me to what? Your sister can't work right now, Mom insisted. She has the baby. It's a full-time job. What about Mark? He needs to help with the baby, too. I looked at them. These people who'd raised me, taught me about responsibility, pushed me to work hard. Now they were making excuses for 2 capable adults who refused to support themselves. Let me get this straight, I said, slowly. You're working extra shifts to support my sister and her fiancé, who are both perfectly capable of working but choose not to. And now you want me to help enable their laziness, too? Dad's face turned red. You're being selfish. Greedy. If you don't help your sister, consider yourself disowned. You can't disown someone who's already gone, I said, quietly, and walked out. For what I hoped would be the last time. The door closing felt like the end of a very long sentence. Back at my apartment, it felt like a sanctuary. I made tea, sat down at my computer, and found Chloe's email. The one where she bragged about manipulating our parents, called them old fools, planned to have more kids to avoid work. I stared at it. My cursor hovered over the forward button. Part of me felt like I was betraying a confidence. But then, Chloe had betrayed our parents' trust long before this. Without adding any message, I forwarded the email to Mom. Sometimes, the raw truth is more powerful than any comment. Mom didn't respond. But a week later, my phone rang. Aunt Carol, Mom's sister, the family's unofficial news channel. You won't believe what happened, she said, her voice thick with gossip. Your parents kicked Chloe out of the condo. I nearly dropped my coffee. What? Apparently, there was a huge fight. Mom found out Chloe had been mocking them, planning to take advantage of them. They told her and Mark to get out. No more money. I listened as Aunt Carol detailed the explosive confrontation, Chloe screaming, crying, pulling out all her usual drama, Mark standing there uselessly, Dad finally putting his foot down, telling them they had 3 days to leave. Mom, apparently, had been eerily calm, saying, "We've been played for fools long enough." After I hung up, I wasn't surprised when my phone lit up with Chloe's number. I could predict the conversation. "Sarah," she wailed, the same fake tears she'd used since we were kids. "Can we stay with you? Just until we figure things out? Please. We have nowhere else to go." "No," I said, firmly. Surprised by how easy it was. You're just like mom and dad. She screamed. You're all so selfish. We're family. Family doesn't exploit family, I said, quietly, and hung up. Later, I heard through the grapevine that Chloe, Mark, and the baby had moved in with his parents. Apparently, his mother was a strict, no-nonsense woman who believed in tough love and responsibility. The kind of parent who didn't tolerate freeloading. Chloe was miserable. Her mother-in-law made her follow a strict schedule, help with housework, and actually parent her child. She had to do laundry, cook, contribute. She spent her days crying about how unfair it all was. Life has a way of coming full circle. A few weeks ago, on my birthday, I was celebrating with friends at my apartment, not the tiny studio, but a nice 2-bedroom place I'd bought. I'd invited a small group over for dinner. The doorbell rang. A courier handed me a package. The return address. My parents. Inside was a silver photo frame. Elegant, not flashy. I recognized it. The kind of thing I'd admired once, years ago, shopping with mom. I'd been looking for something to display my college diploma and had commented on how beautiful it was. But it had been way out of my budget. With it was a card. We're sorry. We miss you. When you're ready, we'd like to talk. Mom's handwriting, but dad had signed it, too. No demands. No guilt trips. Just 9 simple words. I set the frame on my coffee table. My friends asked if I was okay. I honestly didn't know how to answer. How do you explain that a silver frame could feel like both an olive branch and a weapon? That was 2 weeks ago. The frame is still there. The card is on my fridge. Reminders of what I've lost. And what might still be salvaged. I haven't called them yet. The hurt is still there. A dull ache. I hear bits and pieces about Chloe. Still living with Mark's parents, still complaining about chores and rules. Her mother-in-law makes her help with cooking and cleaning, insists that Mark keep his full-time job at a local hardware store. They have to contribute, save money if they ever want to move out. Part of me hopes this experience will help Chloe grow up. Teach her the values our parents failed to instill. Maybe someday she'll understand that love doesn't mean enabling bad behavior. That being family doesn't mean being a doormat. That respect has to be earned. As for me, I'm doing well. My career is thriving. Another promotion, I'm managing my own team now. I have good friends, who understand boundaries. I'm learning to set healthy limits. Sometimes, I miss the family I thought I had, but I'm starting to accept that it was never really what I imagined. The silver frame sits on my coffee table, a reminder of what I've lost, and a possibility of what might be rebuilt. Someday. When I'm ready. When the hurt has faded enough for forgiveness. When I can look at my parents without seeing the people who chose to enable my sister's worst behavior over supporting my independence. But for now, I'm focusing on my own life. My own growth. My own journey. My apartment is becoming a home. I'm planning a vacation. Thinking about getting a dog. Small steps. Toward building the life I want. Not the one others tried to force me into.